On the 22nd of June, 1633, an old man knelt on a cold stone floor and was forced to deny what he knew to be true. His name was Galileo Galilei. Through his telescope, he had seen the truth of the heavens. The earth was not the center of the universe, it moved around the sun. But this defied the teaching of the Catholic Church. The Inquisition summoned him to Rome. They found him vehemently suspect of heresy and made him kneel and renounce his life's work. It was a lie, and everyone in the room knew it. He spent his final years under house arrest. Legend says that he rose. He murmured, and yet it moves. He was right. It would take the church until the 20th century to admit it. On the 24th of June, 1509, a 17-year-old boy was crowned King of England. His name was Henry VIII. He had taken the throne just 2 months earlier, when his father died, and 13 days before the coronation, he had married his first wife, Catherine of Aragon. The two were crowned together at Westminster Abbey. It was Midsummer's Day. The crowds were so caught up in the moment that they tore the cloth the royal couple had walked on into pieces to keep as souvenirs. The young king was admired, athletic, and full of promise. Few that day could have guessed what was to come. 6 marriages, a break with the Church of Rome, and a reign that would change England forever. It all began on a summer's day in 1509. On the 26th of June, 1243, an empire most people have never heard of met its end on a mountain pass in Anatolia. For over a century, the Seljuk Sultanate of Rum had ruled much of what is now Turkey. But new power was sweeping in from the east, the Mongols. The Seljuk Sultan gathered a huge army, far larger than the Mongol force, but at Köse Dağ, discipline beat numbers. The Mongols feigned a retreat, then turned and shattered the Seljuk lines. The Seljuks never recovered. The Sultanate became a puppet state, and over the next decades it broke apart into small Turkish kingdoms. And out of that wreckage, one of the small kingdoms would rise to become the Ottoman Empire. The empire you know began with the fall of the one you don't. On the 29th of June, 1149, a Muslim ruler won a battle that would help change the course of the Crusades. His name was Nur ad-Din. A Crusader prince, Raymond of Antioch, had been raiding his lands, so Nur ad-Din invaded and laid siege to a fortress called Inab. Raymond rode out to stop him, but with only a small force and no reinforcements coming, he camped in open ground. It was a fatal mistake. Under cover of night, Nur ad-Din surrounded the camp. At dawn, he attacked. The Crusader army was destroyed, and Raymond, refusing to flee, he was killed. Nur ad-Din became a hero across the Muslim world. He would unite Muslim Syria and pave the way for his successor, Saladin, the man who would one day retake Jerusalem. On the 15th of July, 1099, the armies of the First Crusade broke into Jerusalem. They had marched for 3 years to reach this place, 2,000 miles, across mountains and desert. By the time they came to the walls, half of them were dead, and the rest were dying of thirst. The defenders had poisoned every well for miles. Then the city fell, and what followed was a massacre. Thousands of Muslims and Jews were killed in a single day. This was the summit of the whole crusading movement, the one they could never repeat. 8 more crusades would follow, and not one would take Jerusalem the way the first had. They won it in a day. Holding it was another matter.